If you feel like your symptoms are happening everywhere at once, fatigue, brain fog, pain, inflammation, this episode will show you why your gut may be the hidden control center and what small shifts can begin calming your body right now. You've been told it's incurable, but here at Renegade Remission, we believe in rewriting the story. If you're facing a terminal or chronic illness, you are not alone. I'm Eleni Welch, certified nutritionist, and each week I share healing strategies and remission stories to help you take control of your health, feel better, and rediscover hope. Welcome back to Renegade Remission. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why gut imbalance can create symptoms far beyond digestive upset, including brain fog, immune issues, and inflammatory problems, how the microbiome directly controls inflammation signaling throughout your body, and the simple, most realistic ways to begin supporting gut healing today without restrictive diets or being overwhelmed. Stay until the end because I'll walk you through a gentle, step-by-step starting framework you can begin today, even if your energy is low or your system feels fragile. One of the most confusing parts of chronic illness is how symptoms rarely stay in one place. You might begin with digestive issues and later develop fatigue, or maybe you started with brain fog and now you're struggling with inflammation, pain, or immune sensitivity. It can feel chaotic, as if your body is failing in multiple systems at once without a clear explanation as to why. For decades, medicine has treated organs as separate entities, but modern research increasingly shows that many chronic conditions share underlying regulatory systems. One of the most influential is the gut microbiome, a vast ecosystem of bacteria and microbes that act less like passengers aboard the boat of our body and more like active partners in regulating immunity, inflammation, metabolism, and even neurological function. If you've ever wondered why so many healing approaches seem to begin with gut health, it's because researchers now understand that when the microbiome becomes disrupted, inflammatory signals can spread throughout the body. And when the microbiome begins to rebalance, improvements often appear in places that seem unrelated to digestion. This doesn't mean that gut health is the sole cause of illness, but it is one of the most powerful places where meaningful change can begin. Before we explore the science, let's look at a real example from clinical research that illustrates how strongly microbiome shifts can influence inflammatory disease. In a landmark randomized clinical trial published in Gastroenterology by Moyadi et al. In 2015, researchers investigated whether altering the microbiome through fecal microbiota transplantation could induce remission in patients with ulcerative colitis, a severe inflammatory bowel disease characterized by immune-driven damage to the colon. Participants enrolled in the study had persistent symptoms despite conventional treatments. The goal was not simply symptom relief, but immune recalibration through microbiome restoration. The results were striking. A significant proportion of participants receiving donor microbiota achieved clinical remission compared to those receiving placebo treatment. For some patients, inflammation decreased dramatically, bleeding resolved, and symptoms stabilized after years of refractory disease. What made this research particularly important was not the specific therapy itself, which feels maybe unattainable or undesirable to most people, but the mechanism it demonstrated, that when the microbial system shifts, the immune system's inflammatory behavior changes alongside it. This illustrates a powerful principle seen across many remission stories across all conditions. When the environment inside of the gut changes, the immune system often follows. Microbiome disruptions can occur from antibiotics, infections, stress, environmental exposures, genetics, or simply modern life. The encouraging part is that microbial communities are dynamic and responsive, meaning they can be supported and restored over time. One of the most important things to understand is that our gut acts as an immune training center. Nearly 70% of our immune cells reside within gut-associated lymphoid tissue. Research by Belkade and Hand, published in 2014, demonstrates that microbes help train immune cells to recognize threats while avoiding unnecessary attacks on the body's own tissues. This explains why people with chronic illness often experience immune confusion, alternating between overreaction and underperformance. When microbial balance shifts, immune signaling can become dysregulated, creating inflammation that appears in joints, brain tissue, skin, or metabolic systems. Understanding this connection can be deeply validating. Symptoms that once felt random or disconnected can begin to reveal an underlying pattern. Intestinal permeability can influence whole body inflammation. Alessio Fasano's research on intestinal barrier function, published in 2011, shows that increased permeability allows inflammatory molecules to enter circulation, triggering systemic immune responses. Barrier disruption can result from stress, infection, medications, nutrient deficiencies, even genetics. The important insight is that the barrier can often be strengthened again when inflammatory stressors decrease and microbial balance restores. The gut-brain axis is also really important for us to understand. Gut microbes influence our neurotransmitters, stress hormones, and neural signaling through the vagus nerve. This explains why anxiety, depression, brain fog, or poor stress tolerance frequently accompany gut imbalance. When inflammation decreases in the microbiome, neurological symptoms sometimes improve alongside physical ones. For many listeners, this realization brings with it some form of relief. Your mental systems may not be separate from your physical illness, but are instead deeply connected with it. Beneficial bacteria ferment dietary fiber into compounds called short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. Research by Ko et al., published in 2016, shows these molecules reduce inflammation, strengthen the gut lining, improve metabolic health, and influence immune regulation. Even modest dietary changes can support bacteria that produce these protective compounds, and one of the best things to add is beneficial prebiotic fibers. Think of things like berries, leafy greens, colorful fiber-rich fruits and vegetables. Our gut also plays a huge role in detoxification. Studies summarized by Klaus et al. In 2016 highlight that gut microbes help metabolize environmental toxins, hormones, and inflammatory byproducts. When microbial diversity decreases, detox pathways can become less efficient, contributing to systemic inflammation. This means that our biology responds to environmental load, and it does also remain adaptable if we can reduce unnecessary exposures. Your gut is one of the most influential regulators of inflammation in the body. Supporting the microbiome often creates ripple effects that reach far beyond improved digestion, influencing energy, mood, immunity, pain perception, and resilience. Healing does not require an extreme protocol. The microbiome responds to small, consistent inputs. Here are some practical action steps you could begin today. Instead of trying to overhaul your diet overnight, begin with 1 or 2 gentle shifts designed to support microbial diversity without overwhelming your system. Start by introducing one fiber-rich plant food that feels manageable. This could be cooked vegetables, berries, lentils, beans, whatever you find yourself craving that's healthy. Fiber feeds beneficial microbes and encourages the production of anti-inflammatory compounds. The key is consistency, not quantity. If your digestion allows, consider adding a small serving of fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, or miso. Begin slowly, sometimes just a teaspoon is enough, to introduce beneficial bacteria without overwhelming a sensitive system. Reducing a single irritant can be just as powerful as adding new foods. Whether you're consuming alcohol, ultra-processed snacks, or artificial sweeteners, experiment with lowering or removing one of those exposures, rather than eliminating everything at once. Before meals, practice a brief, calming ritual such as slow exhale breathing, or simply pausing for a moment of gratitude. Research shows that nervous system regulation improves digestion and reduces inflammatory signaling. Finally, hydrating consistently is super important for our gut health. Adequate hydration supports the protective mucus layer lining the gut and assists in microbial balance. These steps may seem small, but microbiomes respond to patterns like this. Your gut is the communication hub between your brain and your body, and it shapes inflammation throughout every system. But the most hopeful part is that it remains responsive, adaptable, and totally capable of change. You don't have to fix everything at once, just begin by supporting the ecosystem that supports you most. Small shifts accumulate, and over time, those shifts will definitely change how your body feels, responds, and heals. More episodes on supporting our healing process through lifestyle and nutrition factors are to come, so stay tuned, and as always, go be renegades.